What's up everyone, welcome to your sixth, I believe, After Effects tutorial. And in this tutorial we're going to be going over how to animate opacity or transparency, and also how to change the size of objects on an animation. So before we go over that, I just want to teach you guys a nifty little trick real quick. Before, when we were editing keyframes, we had to click on a keyframe like this, or we had to move the current time indicator, and that's how we edited the keyframe. But I didn't tell you guys about this right here. What this little nifty little box does is automatically go to the next keyframe. So whenever you're working with keyframes that are very close to each other, instead of trying to click it, then move a little bit, then click it a little bit more, you can just go ahead and move these little arrows and it'll automatically go to the next keyframe. And whenever this little box is yellow, then it means you're on a keyframe. But whenever it's gray like this, it means you're off a keyframe. So that's how you know when you're on and off keyframes. Another thing that you can do that's even easier than clicking these arrows is pressing J and K on your keyboard. When you press K, it automatically hops to the next keyframe, and J automatically hops back. Again, that's J, K. Just kidding. That's how you can remember it. So now that we learned how to navigate between our keyframes, I wanted to go over something fun, and that is how to make things fade in and out with After Effects. Now, when we wanted to edit the position of our animation, we highlighted our object in the composition panel, and we pressed P. Well, the shortcut for transparency is T. So go ahead and press T, and as you can see, your little thing that used to say position now changed to opacity. Again, they didn't name it. Never mind, I was just going to confuse you. I was going to say that even though you press T, it was opacity. That's because the O, they're already using that for something else. So remember, T is transparency. Don't press O for opacity, since it won't work. So go ahead and press T and move your current time indicator to the beginning of your animation. And remember, don't forget to do this. It's very important. Make sure you click this little stopwatch. This little stopwatch will make sure that you can make keyframes. If you don't have a click and you try to make keyframes, it won't work. So make sure that there's a box around the stopwatch. The first thing that you're going to want to do is make sure you're at home, and make sure you're on your first keyframe that's automatically created. Now, this little thing right here shows how opaque your object is. 0 being nothing at all, and 100 being completely solid. So since I want to fade this from nothing to something, I'm going to go to my first keyframe, and I'm going to put 0. And this is going to make, as you can see, my object disappeared. This is because my object is totally transparent, so all you can see is the background. Now, to make your next keyframe, go to about 3 seconds on your timeline, and you want to make another keyframe just by clicking on this and changing the value of it to something. So I'm going to change mine to 100 since I want it to fade in. And as you can see, when you move our current time indicator, Sammy the Sausage is now totally transparent, and he gradually fades in. And if you can look on here, you can see it gets gradually from 100 to 73 all the way down to 0. So let's watch Sammy in action as he fades in slowly. So again, to recap one last time, go to the beginning, change it to 0, go to your next keyframe, change it to 100, and that is how you make objects fade in and out in After Effects. So another thing I wanted to cover real quick is as you can see, this little here, let me get on that keyframe. When you hover over this, you can change values in 2 ways. A, as we did before, you can just click it and manually change values like 80, 100. But another thing that you can do is, as you can see, the little pointer cursor or whatever, has two arrows on it. If you want, you can go ahead and click and drag the arrows to left or right. As you can see, once your pointer has two little arrows on it, looks like there's an arrow sticking through the finger actually, you can click and drag and this will automatically change your value. So if you want to fine tune it, this is a quick, easy way and you don't have to type it in manually. And this is called scrubbing. I don't know if you need to know that or not, but it's called scrubbing your values. When you click it and change the value of it, you can either type it in or scrub your value. So I actually am going to cover scale, make things shrink and grow in my next tutorial. So make sure you learn how to make things fade in and out, and make sure that you're using these keyframe shortcuts, and make sure that you know how to scrub your values. And once you learn all that, you can move on to my next tutorial where I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make things shrink and grow in After Effects. So thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. What's up everyone, welcome to your 7th After Effects tutorial, and in this tutorial it's going to be real quick. I just want to teach you guys about something called scale. And what this does is make your objects grow and shrink. So if you were watching my last tutorial, I show you guys how to make your objects fade in and out. So let's go ahead, and any keyframes that are in your opacity, let's just go ahead and get rid of them. Just highlight them and press delete. And to get out of opacity, just highlight your object, whatever object you're working on, and press S. This will change it from whatever it was to scale. Again, that's S for scale. Highlight your object, press S. From here, we want to go press home on your keyboard. This will bring you to the first frame in your animation. And go ahead and click the stopwatch to make sure that there's a box around it. Once there's a box around it, as you know if you've been watching my last tutorials, now we can begin editing the keyframes. If there's not a box around it and you try to edit keyframes, it won't work. So click it, make sure there's a box around it. The first thing that we're gonna go over is these numbers right here. This is your X scale right here. X means how wide your object is, and the Y means how tall your object is. So if you want to make it grow one way or another, you have to edit one of these. But what I'm going to keep mine on is this little chain right here means that your aspect ratio is locked. That means whenever you're editing scale, whenever you edit one of these, the other one changes with it, so your object is always proportional. If you have this unlocked, then whenever you change one of these numbers, your object is only going to grow width or height. It's not going to grow proportional like to scale. So make sure, if you want your object to grow proportional and just don't want it to grow taller or wider, then make sure this chain is locked. So since we're on our very first keyframe, the first thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to shrink Sammy, since we're going to be wanting him to grow. So go ahead and click on any of these values, and I'm going to change it to 10. And as you can see, Sammy shrunk to 10%, and also the Y value shrunk with it. This is because, as I was talking about, the aspect ratio is locked. The next thing I'm going to want to do is move my current time indicator to about 3 seconds. Now, I'm going to tell After Effects, alright, at the very beginning I want them to be 10%, but at 3 seconds I'm going to change this value. I'm going to want them to be let's go 60%. Now as you can see, Sammy grew to 60%. Again, 10 at the beginning, 60 at the end. So let's go to the beginning again. Let's go ahead and press space and watch what Sammy does. As you can see, he gradually grows from 10 to 60%. And that is how you edit scale in After Effects. So again, go to the keyframe, change the value of scale, And another way that you can change the value, let me work on this keyframe. Another way that you can change the value is, again, scrub these values, click and drag to the left or right, and as you can see, Sammy is now shrinking and growing. So let's scrub this value down to 10. Make another keyframe at the beginning, scrub it all the way up to about 100. And one last time, let's see what Sammy can do. Press space, grow, shrink. One more time, grow, shrink. Sammy the sausage, ladies and gentlemen. So that is how you change scale in After Effects. I hope you guys learned it. Pay attention to how you scrub the values in scale. And once you learn everything I cover in this tutorial, then you're ready to move on to the next tutorial. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. What's up, guys? Welcome to my 8th tutorial in After Effects, and in this tutorial we're going to be going over rotation. So the first thing we need is an object, and instead of Sammy the sausage we've been using in the last tutorial, I'm going to go with a new file I made. This guy right here, this is Charlie the Chupacabra, and we're going to be teaching him how to rotate today. Now, when I'm working with these images, don't get upset that your images may not be as advanced or professional looking as mine, because I've been working with Photoshop for many years, so that's why my images look awesome. So now that we have Charlie in the middle of the screen, let's go ahead and shrink him a bit, and just put him right in the middle of the screen. And as you can see, he automatically pops up in our composition panel. Go ahead and select the layer Charlie, or whatever you named your object, and press R. R is going to bring up rotation, and once you have this brought up, you can go ahead and click your stopwatch. This is going to let you edit keyframes. So rotation is a lot like any other animating type, where you can scrub your values and have keyframes. So let's go ahead and do that right now. The first keyframe we're going to set to 0 because we don't want them rotating yet. And let's go ahead and move this to about 3 seconds, and let's go ahead and scrub our rotation to about 250 degrees. Now, as you can see, there are two values right here. The first value is how many times you want them to do a 360 degree spin, and the second one is like fine-tuning. Alright, so you want them to do 0, 250 degrees. If you want them to do 3 spins, then you could edit this little number right here to make it go 3. So this would pretty much be like 3 and 75%. But I just want them to do a basic spin right now. So, and another thing, if you scrubbed it all the way past 360 degrees, you notice that the little how many times automatically adjusted past that. So take note of that. So right now we have Charlie rotating a full 360 degrees plus an additional 70 degrees. So let's go ahead back to home and see how that looks. And there you have a basic rotation. And again, if you want to change the number of times he rotates, let's make him spin a bunch right here. Let's have him spin 19 times with an additional 70 degrees. Move that back. Actually, I forgot I had that keyframe. Have him spin about 17 times. And let's watch him spin. Ah, Chupacabra, Charlie! And there you have it. So another thing that I wanted to go over, let me delete this keyframe, is there are two different ways you can spin. You can spin on the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. And to bring those up, let me move back to my home keyframe. To bring those up, you need to click this little checkbox under your square. What this square is it lets you open up 3D rotation to rotate on all axes, or axes, whatever they're called. And just by watching this The best way to explain what the x-axis is and what the y and z-axis is just to watch my animation. The x-axis, as you can see, that'll spin it on the x-axis. Now the x-axis is actually the one going left or right, so when it spins on the x-axis, it actually looks like it's flipping up and down. So anytime you want to turn your object up or down, you need to spin it on the the x-axis. Now the y-axis is the axis that goes up and down. So whenever we rotate that, you can see it looks like it's spinning either left or right. And the z-axis, this is what one we edited the last time. This is just going to make it spin like in circles. So anytime you want to spin that, just scrub it to the right. And anytime you want to spin it in the opposite direction, just scrub it to the left. So, and you edit all of these axes just like any other, or just like the basic Z rotation, just make your keyframes and have it rotate over time. So that, my friends, is how you rotate objects in After Effects. Again, if you want to rotate on different axes or axes than the z-axis, then make sure your little cube is checked, and that's how you bring that up. And also make sure your stopwatch is checked if you want to animate keyframes. So once you learn how to rotate objects and also 3D rotation, you're ready to move on to my next tutorial. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.